Meek Mill has had a career you can make a blockbuster movie out of. He went from growing up in the rougher parts of Philadelphia as a kid and losing his father at only 5 years old, to making it out of his local rap scene and becoming one of the most commercially successful rappers of the 21st century. He managed to pull all that off despite legal trouble pulling at him from the beginning of his career, eventually forcing him to spend months incarcerated during his prime. Not only has he put those troubles behind him, but he's evolved in front of our eyes into being a true advocate for criminal justice in America. It's a real redemption story, rags to riches story, one with depth and a main character that would be easy to root for. The script could write itself, but one thing nobody could write besides Meek Mill is the stuff he tweets. Despite all the accolades and the impressive accomplishments that I just mentioned, sometimes it seems like Meek is best known for the way he uses social media. From bunny hopping, to unique chess strategies, to interesting Amazon purchases, to revolutionary ideas in the culinary industry. Nobody can get a laugh or an eyebrow raise or a groan out of their audience like Meek can with one tweet. Some people like to say you can Google Azalea Banks and your birthday and have a different headline come up. I also believe if you Google Meek Mill and Twitter and your birthday, you can find something unique. For me, it's him crawling into this car on his hands. But it's not just all laughs and giggles. Meek's social media approach has been a part of some of the biggest moments in our culture. From sparking one of the biggest rap beefs of the 2010s, to predicting the collapse of an entire industry. As we go through what I picked as some of the greatest Meek Mill moments in social media, I'm gonna try to do it in chronological order. Let's see if we can take a peek into one of the most fascinating minds of our time. Meek Mill's Twitter account was registered in 2009. A lot of his older tweets are gone, or the search function is just broken on the website. So I have to piece some of this together using scraps that the internet has left for me. His first tweet in 2009, according to this listicle about Philly celebrities' first tweets, was "Free Meek Mill." That makes sense, as he was incarcerated for possession of drug paraphernalia and second-degree possession of a loaded firearm by a convicted felon. He was released in June 2009, and this was around the time that he really started catching steam in the music industry. He had signed to T.I.'s Grand Hustle label about a year or so before this, but because both rappers were dealing with their own legal issues, it was difficult for them to get Meek's career off the ground. In 2010, they ended their partnership, and Meek was a free agent, still picking up steam in his career, but left to start anew. While he was figuring out his direction in 2010, he gave us his first legendary tweet. How do you take pics of your screen on the iPhone? People later dug up this tweet to call him a dumbass, but honestly, I don't think this was really that dumb of a question in 2010. I'm gonna go to bat for Meek Mill on this one. Plenty of people hadn't switched over to the iPhone yet in 2010, so it makes sense he was still learning how to use it. Obviously, everybody and their mom knows how to screenshot now, but it wasn't something everybody was aware of. It's still funny though. 2011 proved to be a huge year for Meek. He met Rick Ross and signed to his label Maybach Music Group, or MMG. Fun fact, Meek Mill's government name is Robert Williams, and Rick Ross's government name is William Roberts. Isn't that such like an odd coincidence? Another fun fact, only like 10% of my viewers are subscribed. So if you like what I've got going on the channel, please go over and hit that like button and that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I also post all of my videos a day early on my Instagram broadcast channel, so if you go follow me on Instagram, you can see them in there. Okay, back to the video. The MMG era is where most of us were first introduced to Meek Mill. Classic songs like I'm a Boss and House Party helped broadcast Meek's high energy approach to music. A lyrical but still really fun sound. His mixtape Dream Chasers in 2011 helped solidify this, but it was 2012's Dream Chasers 2 that really pushed him to the next level. When the mixtape dropped in May of 2012, it got 1.5 million downloads in DatPiff within 6 hours. He dropped his debut album Dreams and Nightmares the same year, with the single Amen with Drake, more on Drake later, helping raise his profile. But it was the intro and the title track to the album that really pushed Meek Mill into the stratosphere. I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this. Everybody knows it. If I had sponsors on my YouTube channel and I was gonna do like a transition, I would have hit the, hold on, wait a minute, y'all thought I was finished, but it's just me right now, so lucky y'all. In all seriousness, with the way that this song has played at like every sports arena since it came out, and is unofficially the anthem to the city of Philadelphia, I'm pretty sure that Meek's kids and his kids' kids are set for life just off this one song. And bigger than that, it solidified his status as a Philadelphia icon. And it's still in that conversation as the city's anthem over 10 years later, even with huge songs like I Just Wanna Rock that could compete with that. Meek must have been busy being an A-list rapper and living on top of the world, because for the next few years he didn't give us as many classic moments on the internet. But in 2015, he let off arguably the biggest tweet of his career, permanently altering the careers of at least 3 artists that I can think of, including himself. Drake and Meek Mill had a pretty good working relationship, as far as we can tell from the outside. The two collaborated on the aforementioned single Amen, but in 2015, they also came back with Rico, which was another hit, but it was actually the song that ended up sparking the beef. According to Meek, he learned that Drake's verse in that song was not really written by Drake, but by a different rapper named Quentin Miller that Drake was hiring to help write some songs. When Meek tweeted, "Stop comparing me to Drake too. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't tweet my album, cause we found out." The internet stopped in its tracks. Drake had ghostwriters? This was the biggest scandal in hip-hop in the whole year. It didn't really end up going Meek's way though. A few days later, Drake dropped a warning track called Charged Up, and it was just an appetizer. He followed it up before Meek could even respond with another song called Back to Back, a scathing diss track that was so popular that it ended up charting on Billboard and getting a Grammy nomination. Meek did end up replying with a song called Wanna Know that premiered on Hot 97, but it was just a little bit too late. This was a super consequential moment for everyone involved. Meek got embarrassed, Drake won the beef, but he left with scars on his resume that got him into more beef later. Quentin Miller's career was never the same. I was a pretty big fan of Quentin Miller. I think he's dope as hell. I mean, he's still rapping and he's doing his thing, but this was an earth-shattering moment for him and everyone involved. Even though so many artists have writers in the music industry, I personally have written for multiple artists, some of whom are signed to major labels, and I'm not even a notable songwriter at this point in my career. It happens a lot, but it's taboo in rap, at least publicly. But the funniest part of this is that a few years later, Quentin Miller came out and said that Meek asked him to help him with some songs too. Meek put himself in this position with his tweets, but he wasn't even necessarily opposed to the idea of it. And in December 2023, he chimed in on the Young Thug and YFN Lucci trials, where prosecutors are trying to use their lyrics as evidence against them. And he said, it should be impossible to charge Thug and Lucci for lyrics. Because in the studio, we all give each other lines, and don't remember who said what after a high night in the studio. I have done it with both of them. They both gave me lyrics before. We all do this. Wait, what? There's nothing wrong with this tweet in a vacuum, and I agree with his stance about using lyrics in court, but how funny is it that Meek is openly admitting to this after he went after Drake for it? What a mess, man. Meek's career took a downturn after this in 2017, when he was deemed to have violated his probation and was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison. This was his supposed 5th violation of his probation, which he was placed on during his original sentencing in 2007. It raised a lot of questions about the fairness of the probation system in the United States. Soon, #FreeMeek became a whole movement, with celebrities like Colin Kaepernick and Jay-Z advocating for his release. Once more information came out about the judge on the case behaving inappropriately, and some of the original witnesses' testimony being kinda unreliable, Meek was freed in 2018, just a few months after the original 2 to 4 year sentence was handed down. Billionaire Michael Rubin, we'll see a lot of him coming up, flew Meek by helicopter to the Sixers game to perform a ceremonial bell ringing, and this began Meek Mill's arc as a leader in the world of criminal justice reform. He followed it up with the album Championships the same year, where he patched things up with former enemy Drake on the song Going Bad, which was a smash hit and peaked at number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100. This is his highest charting song of his career so far. The redemption arc was complete, and Meek had solidified himself in hip-hop and pop culture as a whole. Now it was time for the world to really learn who Meek Mill is, and what better place to show us than on social media. In December 2019, Meek Mill posted an infamous Instagram story of French fries on his legs in the pool. Nobody is really sure what's going on here. Soggy fries are no fun for anybody, and eating off your legs is definitely a faux pas. He tweeted a day later that the pic meant I was fried, and yeah, we could tell. But I'm also not sure that's a super valid answer. I've been pretty high before, and I don't think I've ever eaten French fries off my legs in a pool, but maybe I'm just not living right. Just imagine how that chlorine interacts with the salt of the fries, bro. It just gives me jitters, bro. Not good ones either. This photo resurfaces on social media pretty much anytime Meek Mill does anything. And it had another moment in 2023 when fellow rapper Jid found out about it for the first time and couldn't stop laughing. We've all had that moment. So many of the great Meek Mill social media highlights start around the year 2020. It was a perfect storm. He was on top of the world, a free man, and finally had some time to chill and post, right when the pandemic forced everyone to stay inside and spend more time on the internet. So that year we got one of my favorite Meek Mill moments. He posted a picture of himself playing chess with the caption, "Play the game like a king." Now, I'm not a chess expert, but I do know that having your king exposed in the middle of the board is not a good strategy. I wonder what his ELO would be on chess.com. How do you even get the king there? He once posted a pic with Michael Rubin's daughter and said she beat him in chess and he didn't know how. I think we all know how. Hanging out with Michael Rubin and his family led to another infamous moment just a month later. In January 2021, we got the bunny hop. Meek and Rubin were playing tennis, and Rubin won the point and commanded Meek Mill to do a bunny hop. He got ridiculed for this, and people went as far as to imply it was like some kind of like Illuminati initiation event. Given that Michael Rubin is a powerful billionaire, but it seems like kind of a reach to me. I do think the Illuminati could use a thinker like Meek Mill, but I don't think he's really on their radar. It still looks super silly though. Neither chess nor tennis seem to be the correct sport for Meek, but I'm rooting for him. I hope he finds one soon. Maybe pickleball. Later in 2021, he fired off one of the funniest tweets of all time, but one that probably should have stayed in his Amazon search history. I need vibrating panties with the remote, LOL. They on Amazon? Period, LOL. Where do I start? My favorite part is the two LOLs, separated by only 3 words. They feel like nervous, giggly teenage boy chuckles. So in the name of research, I decided to forever ruin my Amazon algorithm and search vibrating panties with the remote on Amazon to see if I can find anything good. At first I was only finding vibrators with the remote and panties, but no vibrating panties with the remote. This one product caught my eye with a really catchy title. Remote control vibe for women panties. Women's comfortable rose playful, hollowed out sexy underwear. For only $3.99? I'm skeptical. There is no mention of a remote control anywhere in the description or in any of the pictures. There's only one review. Sissy gave it a 4 out of 5 and said, looks good. Thanks, Sissy. I kept looking and I finally found something that I think is like what he was looking for only $23.99. 0 reviews though. I was gonna buy it and do a whole unboxing for y'all, but I feel like I would get demonetized, so maybe when I start a Patreon, let me know if you want that in the comments. Alright, back to Meek tweets. In 2022, he may have accidentally caused financial hardship for many an entrepreneur. You see, one of the biggest buzzwords of 2021 and 2022 was the NFT, or the non-fungible token. I don't think I'm gonna be the guy to educate everyone on what an NFT is, but basically it's like a digital good that you can buy or sell and it could represent anything, a piece of art, a cartoon monkey, a song, a certificate that you own something in real life. And the ownership of this NFT is confirmed on the blockchain, which is basically like cryptocurrency. Makes sense? I hope so. I don't really know if I can explain it any better than that, but I bet you can find a good explanation somewhere on here. So on January 22nd, 2022, Meek Mill sent out a one-word tweet that changed the world. NFT. That's it. At the time, the NFT craze was at its peak. Everyone was selling one. The Paul brothers, Donald Trump, the NBA. If they weren't selling one, they were buying one. The Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs were selling like crazy. One even sold for $3.4 million. But Meek Mill sent that tweet out and everything changed. January 23rd, 2022 was the peak date for searching the word NFT. It was also the peak month for the sale of NFTs on OpenSea. Shout out to the user Rock Mudson on the KTT2 forum for finding all this. So the NFT bubble popped. Sure, they're still around, and crypto isn't dead as a concept either, but the craze has calmed down. It's hilarious to look at the Meek Mill tweet as the turning point for the NFT craze. Is it true? Of course not, but it's pretty funny. Maybe he was foretelling a prophecy, simply warning us that something was coming. What did he know? 2022 also featured probably my favorite clapback of Meek's. He was doing a hashtag Ask Meek thing on Twitter for his fans, and somebody asked if he was neurodivergent. If you don't know, neurodivergent basically means having something different with your brain chemistry. And there are a whole lot of different examples of what that could mean. There's nothing wrong with being neurodivergent, and because it's the internet, it's hard to tell if that person was trying to make a joke at Meek or was being genuinely serious. It's also hard to tell that when Meek responded, "We ain't never used that word in the trenches, what is that?" if he meant it to be a clapback or a genuine question. But that's kind of the beauty of it. It's tweets like this that make Meek Mill my favorite social media user. He coined a catchphrase that people still use, and people aren't even 100% sure of what his original tone was. He is a natural talent when it comes to this posting stuff, man. And the scariest part was, for a moment, it looked like we were gonna lose that talent. At the end of 2022, Meek Mill announced that he was leaving Twitter forever. I'ma deactivate Twitter forever and go to a new social where it's more good vibes, based off building, creating, and motivation. Whoever run my shit, turn this off forever. I'ma take over my YouTube account to replace me interacting with supporters, I guess? Too many bots and weird people. First of all, implying that somebody else runs his Twitter is so funny because there's no way that anybody but Meek could be behind that. But he really did deactivate his Twitter for a while. We all have that friend who announces they're laying low, no more social media, I'm making moves in silence, but it never lasts longer than a few days. And it didn't with Meek either. He was back just 12 days later to announce that he needs an artist from Ghana for his label Dream Chasers. Honestly, good on him because I don't think I can make it 12 days without social media right now. I'm fried. Meek made 2023 a year to remember on Twitter, or X, as it was renamed that year. And the theme of his content was relatability. In June, he did something most rappers would be too afraid to do. And he asked his fans an honest question. Who think I fell off or don't really think I got it with rapping anymore? I'm for real, I need answers and tell the truth. I'm not taking it personal. I need to hear how people think before I do what I do. A social experiment. Answer if you're a supporter of mine. Rappers are often accused of falling off, and their usual reaction is to deny it. I mean, like, the rapper downfall YouTube video essay industry is probably bigger than the NFT industry right now. It's a constant conversation. To approach that conversation as an artist yourself is pretty vulnerable. It takes balls of steel to walk into that kind of discussion, man. As an artist myself, trust me. Receiving feedback is not easy. Everybody thinks they would be good at it till they start getting it. And the thing is, I'm not saying Meek fell off, but if he did, his run was so impressive and long that, like, I don't know if I would even call that a fall off. It's just kind of like what happens to rappers. Like, he's been doing it for so long. If you're not Drake or J. Cole or Kanye West or Kendrick, like, it's difficult to maintain that. So I don't even know if I'd call it a fall off, but I see where he's coming from. He got kind of cooked for this, but I feel like the earnestness of it is kind of nice. He really wanted to hear what his fans thought. He should have known better because Twitter doesn't work like that. There are two sides of this argument to me. One side is saying more rappers would benefit from listening to what their fans think of them. And the other side is saying, like, keep doing you. Don't worry about what people are saying, just focus on your vision. I think if you want to be successful, you need to be able to parse through criticism and see what's valid and what isn't. People might tell you some really valuable stuff. Other people might tell you some complete BS. And the thing about Twitter is you really have no idea who these people are when they're talking to you. You also need to have a delusional level of confidence in yourself to believe that you can make it in music. Maintaining that balance is really difficult. He posted maybe his most relatable pic ever when he said, "Too much liquor, SMH." This, of course, was at one of Michael Rubin's parties. I think Meek needs to spend a little less time with Michael Rubin if he wants to stop getting cooked on social media. But many of us have all sat in front of that toilet before, or announced that we were never drinking liquor again, amidst a mean hangover. I want to make fun of him, but I see that watch on his wrist and I recognize that I've got a long way to go. So I picked some of my favorite social media moments of Meek Mill's, but the truth is, you can find something funny on his Twitter pretty much any day. Some of my recent favorites are, people have losing their minds at a rapid pace. Someone asking him for $2,000 and him telling 2,000 people to each Cash App that guy $1. Him tweeting about Joe Biden and 3 days later tweeting not to take his political tweets seriously because he doesn't know shit about that world. And all of this is intertwined with genuinely thoughtful discussion about criminal justice reform in the United States. I wanted to catalog some of my favorite moments to celebrate a dude who is genuinely himself on the internet, at a time when authenticity is harder and harder to find on here. Many artists feel forced to pretend to be something they're not for attention. And with the way algorithms work, who can blame them? We need more Meeks. Here's to another 15 years of this dude being hilarious on the internet, whether it's Twitter or X or whatever comes next.